Okay, so double review real quickly to talk about last week's episode, the exam and stuff like that. It was basically like a basic lesson. Yet again, My Hero Academia, academics and shit like that. It was a basic lesson for people that want to be heroes. Sometimes, even though you have a set goal, you always should put being a hero as a priority number one above everything else, because that's what Deku did, and it showed and it succeeded. You know, he basically passed the test, even though it was kind of like he didn't do anything else, but at the very least he did that. And it was also the first exposure we had to his quirk, and I love the art and animation on his arm, how it was just all fucked up and bent up and everything. It was like, yeah, it was flapping in the wind. Shit was crazy. So definitely a nice exposure to his quirk, and also a nice first exam. I mean, the episode overall, it was a pretty good episode, but it wasn't anything extravagant. I mean, it was just a small exam. This week's episode is interesting because we get introduced to the new sensei, so to speak, his, teacher or whatever, Eraserhead. Which, Eraserhead, honestly, in this episode, and when I read the manga as well, he kind of reminded me, and I know people are going to say, oh, what are you talking about? But it was kind of like a Kakashi situation. I was kind of curious how, because I couldn't remember how he was going to be introduced, and instead of like, how Kakashi came and the eraser fell on his head, which is kind of interesting. Eraser fell on Kakashi's head. Eraserhead. Yo, if I seriously cracked the case on how he, came up with Eraserhead, that would be fucking hilarious. Was it legit Kakashi when the eraser fell on his head? But it also goes with his powers. But anyway, in the episode, just seeing him first show up, and then the first exam where he's like, the last place gets disqualified. It was totally like the Bell situation with Kakashi and shit like that. So again, it was a nice homage. I mean, Eraserhead is kind of similar to Kakashi. I mean, even the eyes and the being strict and the exam and stuff like that. So you can see where the inspiration comes from. And this episode pushes forth yet again, All Might, his time will run out. Eventually, at some given point, his powers will disappear as Deku continues to grow. So I'm guessing probably towards the end of the series, maybe he'll be completely, no more powers, or maybe after a big battle they'll go away or something like that. But, it was introduced or pushed more in this episode that eventually All Might ain't gonna be shit and Deku's gonna have all the power. And we got some development in this episode because, in the beginning of this episode, Deku's like, I can't control it. He uses it once and his arm is like basically a glass house. It's like a glass cannon. He uses it once and he's fucked, and that's it. So this episode, he learned to control it a little bit more, even though it wasn't really control. It was just kind of him being smart about throwing the ball and using one for all on one finger. So it was kind of like he learned a little bit in this episode. He grew a little bit in this episode, and I guess Eraserhead was already being a good teacher, even though he was coming at it in a strict way, like, motherfucker, you're gonna get expelled. You're gonna get expelled. I'm erasing your powers. You're gonna get expelled. And at the end of the day, what he did was teach him to be a little bit more strategic. You can't always just say, fuck it, somebody will heal me, I'm gonna bust this arm up. Kind of curious about the relationship between Eraserhead and All Might. Like, why do they not like each other? That's kind of an interesting little setup there. I mean, I don't think it's anything like, oh, I'll kill him if I see him, but it's kind of more so maybe like a little bit of a jealousy thing maybe, or a little bit of an envious thing, or kind of like Batman and Superman, while Eraserhead likes to hide in the night, All Might is all in the daytime TV and shit like that. So kind of reminds me maybe of that relationship. Kind of curious how Bakugo is going to react, because we didn't really get a good enough reaction of what he felt finding out that Deku actually has a quirk, because in this episode he's like, you quirkless piece of shit, he ain't gonna do shit, he's gonna be expelled. And actually seeing Deku fucking throwing the ball like that, I'm sure he was kind of like, yo. So it's gonna be interesting to see more how Bakugo develops in his like kind of mindset and feelings towards Deku as the series progresses, because he keeps on looking at him as, you're worthless, you're a piece of shit, and Deku keeps on rising to the occasion time and time again. I mean, we even got to see development more with Deku as far as how he reacted to Bakugo threatening him. He was like, yo, somebody told me I can be a hero, fuck you, I'm gonna be a hero. So it's like, you already see in what, 4 episodes, Deku has developed from being a complete pussy, like, oh my god, please don't hurt me, here's my lunch, to, yo, I'm gonna be a hero. I'm still a little scared, but I'm gonna be a fucking hero, bro. So yeah, again, a couple of very good episodes. Honestly, My Hero Academia is not like rising to the 10 out of 10 occasion or whatever, but it's just very solid episodes. Like, if there's anything, as low as you can go, I would say with My Hero Academia will be in the 7s, but I think it's nicely fit between 7.5, 8, and maybe even 8.5 at times. But like, these episodes, especially the past 2, they've just been really solid, really good, building up the characters, nicely paced. It's not too fast, not too slow. It's like, it's just doing everything right. But as far as like, engaging the audience and shit like that, that's what I think a lot of people are being concerned about, because a lot of people are coming at Academia saying like, it's too slow, or it's not doing things right, because it's just building things up the way the manga did it. If they wanted to do it like, we could have had like 50 chapters and 12 episodes, and then people would bitch about that. So I think personally what they're doing right now, they're doing a nice faithful adaptation. Let me know what you thought about this episode and the past episode. What do you think about Deku's development? What do you think about Eraserhead? Does he remind you of Kakashi? And how do you think Bakugo is going to react as he continues to see Deku progress, even though he's kind of like, yo, fuck you, you ain't shit? And what do you think happened to make All Might and Eraserhead kind of not like each other? Is it kind of like a Batman-Superman deal because Eraserhead hides in the shadows and All Might is on TV? And your world thoughts of Academia thus far, 5 episodes in, what do you think? But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed anything about this video, make sure to drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk me on Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.